Get rid of all this.
It is done.
A Bottle, a Blink, and one of television's brightest comic pairings still has people talking nearly 60 years later. Barbara Eden and Larry Hagman turned I Dream of Jeannie into one of those rare shows that feels instantly recognizable from a single image. Yet the real story behind their bond was even more interesting than the fantasy on screen. What made their partnership work was not just charm or timing, it was trust, instinct, and a strange kind of creative lightning that showed up almost immediately. Barbara has spent years looking back on that experience with warmth, honesty, and a real sense of gratitude, even while admitting Larry could be difficult, demanding, and full of restless energy. That mix is exactly what makes their story so fascinating. And since everyone remembers this duo a little differently, tell us in the comments what you think mattered most: Barbara's sweetness, Larry's edge, or the chemistry they created together. At 94 years old, Barbara Eden still speaks with real affection about how she truly felt about Larry Hagman. Instant spark.
Larry came over, and in between shots in my dressing room, we'd rehearse. We did that first scene. And I remember you telling me I scared you to death.
Really?
You don't remember that.
Honey, I can't remember what I had for breakfast, for God's sake.
When Barbara first got the script for I Dream of Jeannie, she was surprised it had reached her at all. She'd been hearing the production was looking at glamorous, dark-haired beauty types who did not sound much like her. So when the offer came through, it caught her off guard. Once she read the material, though, she immediately understood the appeal. The story felt fresh, playful, and built around a character she genuinely wanted to inhabit. Jeannie was not just pretty or magical. She was curious, impulsive, and emotionally open, which gave Barbara a lot to work with. That same feeling carried into her first meeting with Larry Hagman. Sidney Sheldon wanted them to connect quickly, so Larry came to Barbara's dressing room while she was working. They read the script together, got on their feet, and tried a scene right away. Barbara didn't ease into it. She jumped into the physicality of the character, grabbing him the way Jeannie naturally would. Larry later admitted it scared him to death, but that moment also revealed something important. They were not going to play it cautiously. They were going to commit. Same rhythm. Barbara has said that with Larry, understanding came fast. Some screen partners need weeks to find a rhythm, but with them it seemed to appear almost on contact. They believed each other, trusted each other, and moved through scenes with the same comic pulse. That mattered because I Dream of Jeannie was built on a very fragile premise. If the audience didn't buy the relationship between Jeannie and Tony Nelson, the whole thing could have felt thin in a hurry. Instead, the show became breezy and lovable because the two leads made even the silliest situation feel grounded. Barbara's view of Jeannie also helped shape that chemistry. She didn't play the character as a sly seductress. She saw her more as a tomboy, a fish out of water, someone curious about everything and unguarded in the way she expressed affection. That made Jeannie feel warmer and less calculating. Larry, on the other hand, gave Tony a controlled panic that played beautifully against Barbara's openness. He could be exasperated, flustered, and authoritative all at once. Put those energies together, and the comedy almost wrote itself. The difficult side.
May I give you some advice, Master?
Well, that's very kind of you, but with power like mine, I don't really need your advice, Jeannie. I could put an Apollo capsule on the moon.
Master, please be careful. It is not as easy as it seems.
What do you mean?
Well, your world is very complicated. If you stop one war, you're liable to start 10 others. And if you flood the Sahara, you may empty an ocean. Oh, believe me, Master, it would be much better if you would start with something smaller.
I think you'd better run along, Jeannie. Let me handle this. After all, it's man's work.
Barbara never pretended Larry was easy all the time. She admitted he could get testy on set, especially when things weren't going the way he wanted. He cared deeply about getting scenes right, and sometimes that intensity came out as frustration. But Barbara never framed him as a villain. She seemed to understand that his temperament was tied to his standards. In her telling, Larry was often his own worst enemy, a talented performer who could push too hard when perfection slipped out of reach. That perspective says a lot about how she really felt about him. She was not blind to his flaws, but she didn't reduce him to them either. She saw the whole man, not just the difficult moments. That's often the difference between a shallow work friendship and a real one. At one point, the people behind the show were apparently ready to let him go. Barbara did not support that move. She argued that he was worth keeping, and time proved her right. She believed the show needed him, and she believed his talent outweighed the trouble. Standing by him.
And this is, this is just Jeannie's. They do this, don't they? They do, yeah.
Can you do it for us now?
You just did.
Well,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jeannie.
okay.
Get me out of here.
He's gone. You can't leave.
That may be one of the clearest signs of Barbara's feelings about Larry. It's easy to praise a co-star years later when memory has softened everything. It's much harder to stand by someone while the tension is still real and the decision still matters. Barbara did exactly that. She recognized how good Larry was in front of the camera and refused to let temporary frustrations erase that. To her, his abilities were too valuable to dismiss. She did not just tolerate him, she defended him. She also spoke about how much fun he brought to the set. Larry had a forceful presence and a lot of energy. He could keep things lively, and that liveliness mattered on a sitcom that depended on pace and surprise. Barbara clearly appreciated the way he made things move. Her admiration was practical as much as emotional. She respected results. Once the camera rolled, she believed Larry could do almost anything. That kind of praise isn't casual. It comes from someone who watched him work up close day after day and knew exactly what he brought to the screen. Affection that lasted.
To me, a wonderful rascal. He was a rascal. I mean, he could just put people. Sometimes I would sit and I'd watch him and I'd think, what's he going to do next? What's he going to do? Because he knew he was going to do something that no one expected him to do.
Long after the show ended, Barbara continued to speak about Larry with real fondness, not in a polished, obligatory way, but in the language of someone who had shared a meaningful chapter of her life with him. She called him talented, energetic, and deeply enjoyable to work with. What makes her memories compelling is they never sound fake. She doesn't turn him into a saint, and she doesn't erase the rough edges. Instead, she remembers him as gifted, demanding, funny, and unforgettable. That balance makes her affection more believable. It also helps explain why their pairing still feels special to viewers. Audiences can usually tell when two actors are merely doing a job. With Barbara and Larry, there was something looser and more natural than that. There was mutual recognition. They knew what the other one was doing and met it in real time. So when Barbara reflects on Larry Hagman now, the feeling that comes through most strongly isn't regret, irritation, or nostalgia alone, it's appreciation. She respected his gifts, enjoyed his energy, forgave his moods, and never forgot what the two of them created together. Now it's time to hear from you. When you watch Barbara Eden and Larry Hagman together, do you think their magic came more from friendship, comic timing, or the way their personalities balanced each other out? Now it's time to hear from you. When you watch Barbara Eden and Larry Hagman together, do you think their magic came more from friendship, comic timing, or the way their personalities balanced each other out? Let us know in the comments section below.